to Live magazine. My name is Mario Giedicke, and today I'm in Kelowna sitting down with Stephen Mazer of Raymond James Aura Wealth Management. Stephen, thank you for inviting me into your home.
Thanks for coming.
And we got time before Christmas, everything got crazy. You and I, our wives, we all went together, I want to say like almost 2 months ago. Like it's been now months I keep coming by. But this is your busiest time, isn't it?
Well, I would say at this point, we're just busy full stop year round. But it does get a little bit busier at this time of year. People are looking to do year ends. Taxes are coming up. People are thinking about tax strategy for, this year and next. So we are having more of those conversations. But that won't stop.
Next year either.
Well, going into the new year, taxes are always front of mind.
Oh God, I hate those. Who likes those?
Nobody likes taxes.
Nobody likes taxes. No.
Yeah.
But here's a question I always wondered. You've been in your industry. There's usually a lot of turnaround between brokerages. Like people go try a little bit, and you've been with Raymond James since 2008.
Yes.
Who were you before, and why did you change?
Well, I was with a firm called Edward Jones previously, and it was an excellent firm, especially for somebody who was new to the industry. They have an excellent training program, but as I grew and developed as a financial advisor and as the business grew, Raymond James offered me something a little deeper, a little more sophisticated as far as wealth management goes. And that's not to, disparage the competition by any means. The foundation that I stand on today was built in part by what Edward Jones taught me. So I'm very grateful to that. But the fit for the kind of business and wealth management practice that I run today was more conducive to be with a firm like Raymond James.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. You're not the average financial advisor.
I like to think that I'm not.
No, you're not. You're not. I don't think so. And I've met a few of you fellows. I think perhaps it must be your upcoming. Like you're a cowboy by heart. You grew up in the prairies.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck happened? How do you go from like cattle country to stock market?
Well, I like to joke that I took the long way around.
Yeah.
A lot of my colleagues, they came straight from university into the financial services industry, whether they started at the bank or, began working on a team. I went to school, I studied agricultural production, and to your point, I grew up on a generational cattle ranch in southeastern Alberta.
Like you chopped like hay and cows, and you like.
Oh yeah, we grew up. I grew up on a cattle ranch. We if you've watched Yellowstone, kind of like that. And I mean,
we had this conversation. Your dad is like. Yellowstone is like the Kevin Costner dude.
Yeah, except that Kevin Costner is better looking.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's funny because...
Don't tell that your dad. He's going to watch
Dad knows. Dad knows.
Dad knows.
But it was one of these... when I watched Yellowstone, Kevin Costner is like Dad. Yeah. He's got the same sort of inflection in the way he speaks. They dress exactly the same way. So it was...
I hope he hasn't killed any cowboys.
No. Yellowstone is very much a soap opera.
Yeah.
But when it comes to some of the ranching parts of it, some of it's exaggerated for television, but there's some truth to it for sure.
So how and why did you make that jump from... I'm sure your dad wanted you to be a cowboy and take over the farm.
That was the original idea. I mean, as I was growing up, it was a foregone conclusion that I was going to be out of the ranch. As it turns out with many ranching families and farming families, you get along better with your father when you're not working together.
You know what I just concluded when it comes to Yellowstone? Like you are the male version of Beth, actually. Like, isn't she like a lawyer and a financial person? Just really brutal. You're not that way, but yeah.
Yeah, hopefully I'm not psychotic like she is, but
And an alcoholic.
I'm definitely not that.
Yeah.
But so yeah, Dad and I mean, we're stubborn, come from old German stock, so
Yeah.
we butt heads.
Amen.
And yeah, you get it. And it became obvious that we weren't going to have a relationship if I had stayed out there. So I left, and I spent 10 years working in the oil industry, chasing drilling rigs around for 10 years, or better part of a decade at any rate. And I got recruited out of the oil industry by Edward Jones.
Wow.
And 21-ish years later, here I am.
Here you were.
Yeah.
Start your company, build your portfolio, help your clients build their wealth.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Good for you. I'm sure your dad is very proud of you.
I think so.
You
Yeah.
think so? Are you gonna? It's Christmas coming soon up. Are you gonna visit him?
Dad doesn't like to leave the ranch too much.
Oh.
He gets twitchy if he's more than 50 miles from home.
Yeah.
I have my mom coming in to be with us for Christmas.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you and I, we have a few things in common. One happens to be we're both married to older women.
Yes.
Yes. How did that happen? How did you and your wife ended up meeting?
Just serendipitously.
Yeah.
Yeah. We met through mutual friends. And we were both going through our own divorces at the time, and we met. And
What made you attracted to older women? I know what it is. It's just I can't handle younger ones. So that's, to me, I was like, no, this.
Well, there
this
might
better.
be something to do with that. I don't know, but Laura is just great, age aside.
She looks amazing for 60 something.
Yeah, she's obviously very attractive, but she's very smart. She's one of the smartest people I've met. So a combination of beauty and intelligence.
Yeah.
It's a potent combination.
Who wants to be with a dumb person? Nobody.
Nobody.
Nobody does. So your company is growing. You've seen a lot of changes. Now, with the baby boomers are dying, how do you see the wealth transfer happen?
It really sort of depends on the individual circumstances of the family, the net worth. We talked earlier about my family dynamics with Dad. It comes down to the relationships that families have between the grandparents, the parents, the children, the grandchildren, and how does that look? How open people are to discussing what that looks like. And I encourage those discussions. The more a family knows, or at least is aware how things are going to happen as far as wealth transfer, I think it makes it makes for an easier transition on the family. What you probably don't want to happen is to be surprised. It could be a question of maybe your parent got remarried and there was a change in the will that nobody was aware of. That can cause
Issues.
definitely.
Yeah.
And it's not just that baby boomers are passing away. We're all living generally longer and healthier lives. So you have, let me back up for a second. When the Canadian pension plan was created in 1965, the average white male died at age 67.
Oh.
Okay, so you would retire and you would have savings and you would have this government benefit that would be helpful, but there wasn't a lot of stress on the system because people were dying younger. People are living longer and healthier lives. So how that money is managed and how it lasts is a huge topic of discussion. How is this going to look if you have kids and grandchildren that are thinking about inheritance, or they're thinking they need inheritance to buy a home for younger people? That's getting harder for people to afford homes. It's getting harder to save. Just things are more expensive and they're relying on some sort of inheritance. But your grandparents or your parents are living longer,
So
that money is going to have to go to looking after their needs.
well-being, yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody passes away, and all of a sudden there's money available. Do those people that take them all of a sudden just go gangbuster and burn it? Or do they say, hey, Stephen, we're going to make this one keep producing money? Like,
If
can
if
you, can
if
you,
if a family is working with a financial advisor, that generally does not happen because there is some sort of plan
behind
in
it?
place.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, sometimes the money gets, you know, is a money wasted if it's spent immediately? Not necessarily. Not if you're paying down debt or, you know, buying your first home, or paying for your children's education. It really depends on circumstances. But if people are working with professionals, there is some sort of logic and plan that goes to wealth transfer.
Yeah.
So-
So they don't just walk away and say, okay, give us the cash. We're going to go to Vegas and go.
No, typically that sort of extreme example is rare.
Yeah.
It does happen, but
Are
typically
you,
not.
so you're not concerned that people are going to pull things out and like do dumb shit? The same thing as
No.
people that win in
If
the lottery.
if you're working with a financial advisor, odds are you're not doing quote unquote dumb shit.
No, I'm not, but maybe my kids are. So
Well,
if I-
financial education has a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
You know, the one of the foundations of our practice is client education. That is hugely important. Not just, you know, what is a stock or what is a bond or what is a mutual fund or how does an RRSP or a TFSA work. It's also what is the purpose of this money. That's really what this comes down to. You know, we have a philosophical underpinning to how we manage wealth.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, what's the why behind the money? Is it
Yeah.
to retire at a particular age? Is it to have a particular lifestyle? Are there health issues? Is there debt issues? You know, what does this money have to do for you? And
Yeah.
through those conversations, the plan develops organically from there. So
it's a long journey, right? Like you.
Oh, yeah,
You
when-
must have people that you dealt with 20 years ago.
absolutely.
Wow.
And we're dealing with their children and their grandchildren now. So there is a generational aspect to the business where, you know, a client that I've had for 20 years, their children, you know, depending on their age, their children are either just graduating high school or graduating from university, and we're setting their children up for financial success. And that doesn't necessarily have to come from an inheritance. It just has to come from being guided and being given guidance for you know, to set them up for success. You know, because there's a good chance they're going to find a partner, they're probably going to have children, or they hope to have children, or they hope to have a home. So you do what you can to get them started. And another thing is as well is people cannot solely rely on inheritance. You know, if
No.
if your parents live into their 90s, which they very well could, odds are you as you know their son or their daughter, you know, you're probably going to be in your 60s, maybe even your 70s. If you haven't thought about finances or your savings by the time you get into your 60s or 70s, it's probably too late.
Yeah.
And as your parents spend through their savings because they get older, they need health care, you know, they may need a nursing home, they may spend all the money that they
No,
saved.
I'm like my wife and I. We talked that earlier. We were just on a cruise, and my parents-in-law, they're in their early 70s, and they're going strong. Like they're not.
Laura's
gonna,
mom is 81,
Wow.
and a young 81 at that. Her and her partner, they're traveling, they're enjoying life.
And so they should.
They absolutely should. You didn't work your entire life to
Give it all away.
to just think about, you know, who gets what
It's very
after you're
fascinating.
gone.
Because I find this in North America, my experiences here is almost like there's a generation of children that is literally just waiting for that to happen. Like there's a lot of consensus like, oh yeah, when my parents pass away, I will get all their money.
I
Like,
see
it's almost
some
like
of
they're
that.
waiting.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? Make your own life happening.
Well, I don't just see that in the practice. I see it within my own family.
Oh, you do?
This conversation around inheritance. It's, depending on who in the family you're talking to, it's more front of mind for some than it is for others. So yeah, that's absolutely true. Some people have an expectation that, not that they don't need to save, but they either think, or the reality is it's just too expensive to save to get to a point where they need to be. Although I would push back on that.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. Like, I- is it or is it not?
It's circumstantial. It really is. So let's take a young professional living in Vancouver, for example. You're a lawyer, you're an associate, you're maybe in your late 20s, early 30s, you haven't made partner yet, and you're making, I don't know, low six figures, which is a reasonable income. But odds are you're not going to own a
Well, if you're
home.
living in Vancouver, the house is 1.3 million. Or
Right.
a condo.
But on the other side of that, depending on the kind of law you're practicing, you could move to Moose Jaw, for example, and be a homeowner in 6 months. So it's a question of expectation and lifestyle. You are giving up, arguably, some people who live in Moose Jaw may say otherwise, but if you're leaving Vancouver for a smaller town to live in, like Moose Jaw, you're giving up, restaurant, nightlife, everything that, international airport, everything that a large city provides. But you are also giving yourself the opportunity to get yourself into the housing market, for example, or the ability to save more on probably a fairly similar sort of income.
But isn't that the biggest issue right now, that nobody really wants to give up anything, but everybody wants everything right
Well,
now?
I'll tell you a secret. People say this, I hear this a lot. Kids these days, they start off, well, kids these days. The secret is that kids these days have always been like that. It's a question of who the individual is and what they're willing to sacrifice in order to get what they want as far as their long-term goals are concerned. It really depends on the individual. Is
Because
what
I
it comes
find
down to.
like, and I've seen it having conversation with a lot of people. Like, kids these days, they don't want to sacrifice anything. I want the three.
That's not true. That's not true. I will tell you that
there is always the exception to the rule.
there is, but I've heard the same thing when I was in my 20s. Gen X, I mean, I am solidly Gen X. And I grew up listening to, we were a bunch of slackers, we didn't get it, you're lazy. I'd say for the most part, we've done okay.
I didn't get that, and we're the same age. Maybe you were a little slacker.
No, growing up with John Dutton,
Yeah, no,
there was
sure.
no opportunity to slack. There was always a cowboy boot up your hindquarters making
Yeah.
you move. So,
Oh, did you get a good whooping?
oh,
Yeah.
are you kidding?
I did. I know. It's funny because my kids, I've never touched them, ever. But I guess these days I would go probably to jail if I did.
Yeah, things have changed.
Yes, yes, things have changed
Yes,
quite a bit.
yeah.
So what do you anticipate coming up for you, like for your company as well?
Well, it's a very exciting time for us. We're bringing on a new partner into the practice, Kim Ingalls. She's a successful financial advisor in her own right, and we're excited to bring her in the beginning of the year. We continue to grow our business organically. People are finding us regularly through referrals and through other channels.
But you're also a public speaker. You did
Sometimes,
you've
yeah.
given a couple of lectures, and just
Yeah.
recently you hosted a big event as well.
Well, I was asked by the Canadian Securities Exchange to have a fireside chat around the idea of sustainable investing.
Yeah. That's
And
not a lot of people get asked that, so you must
yeah,
do something right.
it was a very interesting discussion because the idea behind sustainability is evolving. You know, there's terms like greenwashing that's floating around about, you know, invest in something that's quote unquote green, or something that's sustainable. Well, commerce and business by its very nature should be sustainable, otherwise you're not going to have a
I know.
business.
I was like, well, what about investing in something that makes money?
Well,
And then,
this
and
was
then
part of
does
this was part of the conversation that we had on stage. Was I made the point of saying it's good to be sustainable and environmental and all those things, but the root word of sustainable investing is investing. There is a profit motive there.
yeah,
Okay, and that can be forgotten,
yeah.
right? If you want to be an ethical investor or a sustainable investor, or if you just want to be sustainable or ethical full stop, don't invest. Take your money out of the market, donate it to causes that you believe in. But if you are an investor, the primary motivation is growth of capital.
You know what? As we're talking about this, there's this one scene. I think it was in the movie, in the series Landman, where one of the oil guys is sitting with all the other oil guys. I don't know if you've seen.
Yes, I've watched Landman. Yeah.
And then they're all arguing about oil and energy and da da da, and oh, we should do this. And he's like, I get fucking tired of this. We're an oil company.
Mm-hmm.
You're an investment company. Make fucking investments.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about all these other shit. If there's a
Yeah.
solar panel company out there that makes money, well, then you're going to invest in it.
Yeah, there. I mean, I know the scene that you're talking about, and it's there's definitely an element of truth to it. I mean, it's been simplified, obviously, for television.
Absolutely.
But there is an element of truth to that. That if you're investing or if you're in a business doing a particular thing, stay focused on it. You know, but actually, part of our philosophical foundation is around Dieter Ram's 10 Rules to Good Design. Because I hate sales. So I like to, I mean, you're in a sales role when you run a business,
Yeah.
and you have to continually grow that. So I had to figure out a way to communicate why we're different. Mm-hmm. And part of that was through process, was through a philosophical foundation that I could communicate. This is how we operate. Mm-hmm. This is the kind of value that we bring to clients. If it doesn't speak to you, that's fine. No is a completely reasonable answer, and no is a complete sentence. That's fine. But for those that see value in that, it goes beyond just whether or not you own RBC or BMO stock. It goes beyond whether or not you're invested heavily in tech or in oil and gas, for example. It has to do with how you own the investment, how it translates to the overall plan for not just yourselves, but to our previous discussion about generational wealth transfer. How does this all work together? And for those who aren't familiar with Dieter Rams, he designed bronze aesthetic, industrial aesthetic in the 60s. So if you look at that design, it all has to do with, good design has to be functional. It has to be honest about what it's trying to do. It has to be, beautiful. It has to be attractive to the eye. And what I did was take those 10 rules and translate it into a wealth management practice. And I've got it on our website for those who are curious about it. But there's a lot of people who would look at that and go, this speaks to me. This makes sense. And to me, design and process matters more than it. I should back up. It's equal to security selection. Mm-hmm. Right? Security selection obviously matters. You can't buy junk investments and expect a good result. Yep. Right? You have to have high quality investments, but you also have to understand how to own them.
Yeah. And then at the end, it comes down to return of investment. Mm-hmm. At the end, like if the process, you follow and you get that, well then results speak for itself.
Yes.
And they have for you. Like
they have.
You have a great track record. You have great clients. I don't think I've ever heard any shitty news about you ever. You're a very likable personal guy.
Well, we work very hard to make sure that customer service
Comes first.
comes first. It has to,
Yeah.
right?
People always forget people. I find this.
Well, this business is changing very rapidly, as most businesses are. Technology is changing. You know, everybody talks about artificial intelligence and how that might change the industry. At the end of the day, if you have anxiety over your wealth, you don't want to talk to a robot.
No.
You want to be able to pick up the phone and know that there's a human being on the other end. The robot is a good tool.
Yeah.
It helps with research. It helps with being efficient. But
Are you guys using AI?
oh yeah, to varying degrees. I mean, it's fairly new, so we're trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. So there's a little bit of fumbling around right now broadly in the industry to figure out, does this work or does this not?
I think it's a great research tool.
It is a good research tool. Of course, it can get things wrong regularly, so you still have to double check it. But if somebody calls with anxiety over the fact that their aging mother might be running out of money, or somebody passes away and they're helping their parent just get their spouse's account into their into their own name, and you don't want. There's a great deal of empathy. This is a human industry. Nothing is. There are very few things that are more personal than your money.
Yeah.
Right, and you don't want R2D2 telling you.
No, you don't want to fuck that up at the end of the day.
No, you don't. No, you don't. We have processes that are enhanced by technology, but at the end of the day, there's a human hand there to make sure that you can read the emotions, that you can see what somebody will ask, is the stock market going to crash tomorrow, for example.
Yeah, but nobody
But they're not.
AI doesn't know that either.
But that's not really what they're asking. It doesn't matter so much whether or not the stock market may or may not go up or down tomorrow or the next day. If someone says, is the market going to crash in 6 months? What they're really asking is, am I going to be okay?
Yeah.
Am I still going to be able to live in retirement and enjoy the lifestyle that I've spent a lifetime building towards? So AI would hear, is the stock market going to crash tomorrow, and give you a binary yes or no sort of answer. It has its own sort of caveats, but the robot does not know how to read emotional, human emotions.
My father-in-law got me into sports betting a little bit. So I started
What could go wrong with that?
I don't know. I'm not in a big scale at all.
Yeah.
But so what I started doing is I used AI for research to give me statistics. But then it doesn't understand humans.
No.
Because statistically you read the stats and whatever it is, but then the human emotion and the eagerness to work harder or do stuff or whatever happens that day, fight with the wife or whatever it is, it doesn't apply that law into it. So it can never be correct. Ever. And it has never been correct. Well, that's not true. It got it right a few times, but you can't really analyze that because us humans, we're functioning differently. And it doesn't take that into the equation.
Well, I mean, we're all affected by
Emotions.
by emotions and by exterior factors. One day you're happy, one day you're sad, and it could be any number of different things. The same thing is like with the stock market. The stock market in the short term is an emotional read of investors.
Yep.
Long term, it tends to be more of a display of value, right? But in the short term, it is highly emotional.
Oh God, yeah.
So if you're constantly chasing that emotion, like in sports betting, you're probably going to end up on the wrong side of the trade. And then what I also like to tell people is that in this business, it is very hard to hit bullseyes. What you need to do is be directionally correct. right? And you need to be directionally correct more often than not.
But that's a long-term vision.
It is a long-term vision.
You gotta go.
And I tell this to, well, all my existing clients know this, but if somebody new were to come in and they ask me, well, what do you think is going to happen between now and the next 6 months? I really don't know. I can give you a guess, but it's a coin flip whether or not I'm correct. But I'm not thinking about you over the next 6 months. If you want to be a client, I'm thinking about you and your family over 20 or 30 years. And I may be retired maybe in 20 years. So part of this practice has been built not just for the succession plans of clients, but for the business itself.
So that your philosophy can continue on and outlive you, but still perform well for the people that are working.
One of the reasons why our partners become partners, and I'm talking about the other financial advisors in this practice, it's because we all agree on a general idea of business ethics, of process, of philosophy about how we do things and how we treat and deal with our clients. And I'll joke with a client, like, if something were to happen to me, if I were to walk out this door tomorrow and a piano falls on me, nothing from your relationship with Oral Wealth Management should change. Because my long-term business partner, Amanda, we've been working very closely for a number of years. We do things similarly. We have great debates over, what should be in the portfolio or how we should do things, but that process will not change because we do things the same way. It just won't be Stephen that they're talking to, it'll be Amanda.
Yeah.
And we all bring
Maybe we like Amanda more.
Maybe.
Maybe.
She's probably more charming than I am.
You are pretty charming. So these are very exciting times. So are you looking then for more associates right now, or what do you?
We don't look to grow the team just for the sake of growth.
Oh, okay.
It has to be the right fit.
Yeah.
It's like our assistant Cassie. When we were looking for our administrative assistant, we weren't just looking for somebody to fill the seat.
Yeah.
Right? There was discussion, we need to hire somebody within a month or something like that. And that was immediately rejected. We hire based on who the right person is.
Yeah.
And it worked out it makes all the difference in the world.
And she's still here.
Yes, she is.
She is still there. Right, Cassie? No, I remember the times when you were looking for that and you needed the right one, and then there was somebody there, but it wasn't the right fit, and you're like, oh, fuck that, let's get somebody else. So it makes a difference. All of a sudden, everything is blooming. With the
culture within a team is
huge.
It is massive. If you're not all swimming in the same direction, as far as what you think client service should be, what and how that all trickles down from the client, because at the end of the day, we're here because of our clients.
Yeah.
Right. So they're not here because of us.
No.
Right. It's
the other way around.
It's the other way around. So if we want to service them in a way that works best in their best interests, you have to have the right team, and you don't just grow for the sake of growth. When Kim, our new partner, when we started having those initial discussions, it wasn't about whether or not her or I might be the better investor. It was about whether or not our values aligned, and whether her clients and our clients were the same types of people. And our clients range in net worth and in background and in geographic locations, but there is some sort of fundamental truth to who they are. They want real people. They want that. They want they're paying for a high-end service.
Yeah. Well, how much money do I need then to invest to become a client?
Well, it really depends. So our average client size, our average household, is about between $1.5 and $2 million household. But we have clients who are more than that. We have clients who are less than that. It is really, the client interview, not only are they interviewing us,
You interviewing them.
we are interviewing them. And
That's
there has to
really
be an alignment of those values.
That is very good.
So if you have, say, for example, $500,000 and you're looking for some stockbroker who's looking for the next best thing,
You're the wrong guy.
I'm the wrong guy. We do plans. We do wealth management. We run our own model portfolios. I mean, they're bespoke to the individual. So we start with our model, and then we will adjust it and tailor it to the individual, okay, based on their age, their net worth, their risk tolerances, all those things that should be asked.
Yeah.
But if so if you come in with $10 million, I mean, you're not going to just turn away, a large account like that, but you have to make sure that you're taking on the right sort of person. Because if you take on the wrong sort of client, if there isn't a fit,
I've
you
seen
do all this work and you're not doing yourself any favors and you're not doing the client any favors if you force a relationship, because they're going to end up leaving in 24 months anyway.
and then they're not going to be talking nicely anyways because things just went south.
Right. If you're 90 years old with 10 grand, there's limited things I can do for you.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just that's just honesty. And, I'm too expensive for something or someone like that.
Yeah.
But if you are, say, for example, you're 25 years old and you've managed to save up your first $20,000 or $30,000, I'm not going to turn you away. I'm going to work with you and help develop you into a better saver and investor, because over time, we will recoup the cost of that front-end loaded sort of relationship, right? And they will always remember that you looked after them when they didn't have much.
Yeah.
Right?
No, you're absolutely right. There's over the times that I've dealt with clients in my world, they were very small back then, and they grew, and we grew together, and now it's a great way to one hand washes the other, and building each other's business up. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. So it really depends. But I mean, it's a business, and we talked about sustainability, before. You can't build a business off of, 125-year-olds with $20,000. So like I say, the average client size is between $1.5 and $2 million. But I've always rejected the idea of account minimums. I think it is a snobbery within the industry that is undeserved. If you have, say you're talking to a financial advisor and they say, I won't take you on unless you've got $1 million or more, and you've got $700,000.
Really?
Really? Are you sure about that?
Yeah. No,
I don't understand that.
No, I don't understand it either. It happens, and
it does.
There is a lot of people that do that kind of stuff.
And there are some firms out there that force that on the advisor. I don't want to pick on my colleagues, because there are advisors out there who think like I do as well.
Yeah.
But sometimes who they're with just say, well, this is just our rule.
Well, I think this is why you aligned with Raymond James, because they just value the clients more.
I'm not with Raymond James by accident. I could be with any firm I want, and I choose Raymond James because they're a large, ethical firm.
Yeah.
Their mantra to their financial advisors is be legal, be ethical, and be profitable. Other than that, you can do holistic wealth management like we do, or if you want to be a stockbroker, you can do that too. If you only want to do life insurance, that is your choice, depending on your practice.
But at least you have the portfolio to choose from.
Right. And the company with some large firms, they can be hidebound, and they get very kind of corporate in their language, and they get very sort of cookie cutter.
Yeah.
But I've never had that experience. Anytime the firm has come to me and said, this is how we think, this should work, and I disagreed, if I had a reasonable and good argument, they've always been flexible. And so it's been excellent for our clients. It's been excellent for us. And I know we're not a rookie training platform.
No.
We as a firm, they recruit experienced advisors.
Yeah.
And for the most part, it's been a good
Very
experience.
selective.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for having me out here. I hope this year's going to end with a big boom, and next year's going to be just as fruitful.
I hope so.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.